We're here at the Community Shelter Resource Center with manager Chantelle Estess. Hi.
Hi.
So, Chantelle, you're new to the community, new to this job. This is all new. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you do.
Sure. So I moved here from Northern California. It's about 8 hours away in a small community of 5,000 people, and did some contracts in Trinity County. And Northern California is very hot, and so when I got here, I was confused on what was going on with the weather here. But I moved here based on the fact of being able to offer one of the most important steps in our houseless population, and that is our first step shelter, our emergency shelter. And so I have a background in criminal justice as well as mental health, some legal, real estate, and a whole bunch of different little things that have allowed me this opportunity to be able to open the shelter in a safe and appropriate manner.
And let's talk a little bit about the shelter. The building is owned by the Housing Authority. You also have community partners with Lincoln County Health, right?
Correct. So, Lincoln County Housing Authority has purchased the building, and Lincoln County is renting it from them.
And let's talk a little bit about, you've been open since, in Newport, I might add, since October, is that right?
Yep, since October 3rd.
And before they were able to get you into this incredible building, you had some community partners you were working with. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so St. Stephen's Presbyterian has been amazing and gave us the first shot at being able to open the doors to our houseless population. And we quickly realized that we would be full. The fire marshal only gave us so much space per person. And when you add an animal, since we gladly welcome our fur babies as well, it takes up a spot for somebody that would be able to put them out on the floor. And so we quickly realized that we need to find something bigger. But in the meantime, we already were working with First Presbyterian to be able to do off weeks, 1 week at St. Stephen's and then the other week at First Presbyterian. And so our partners, this would never have happened at all without those wonderful, amazing partners that do so much for our community. But giving shelter, it was a rough go around because there's so much unknown. Mm-hmm. And so for us to get that trust, and this would not be here today if it wasn't for them. And so we were able to move into the bigger location where we were able to house 10 more people on top of the original amount. And so we quickly found that First Presbyterian said just stay here until our new building was open, and that's what we were able to do. We do have our partners on standby as well. They are more than welcome to or willing to house our overflow if we have any. And so we're grateful for that opportunity too. And that shows that we all were able to work together and protect each other's properties and make sure that we were able to house our unhoused population.
Now, is it open to anyone, or are there any restrictions for being able to utilize the shelter?
So we're a low barrier shelter, and that is where you'll see the limited amount of shelters that we run here through Lincoln County is because we do welcome anybody and everybody. It's a safe, affirming space for all, including our fur babies. It could be somebody that might be under the influence of alcohol or drugs. We go off of behaviors, and so if their behavior is in an appropriate and respectful way, then we make sure that we bring them in and give them a safe spot so they're off the streets for the night.
And you mentioned fur babies. I love the animals. And having animals when you're unhoused is really important, even for folks who, especially I should say, for folks who may be experiencing some mental illness. Can you talk a little bit about that importance of having your animal with you?
Well, as we know, those that animals give us the love that is it's untouchable. I mean, it's they always love us no matter what. And folks that have separation issues and a lot of other concerns, or even populations that may or may not have a mental illness, but our fur babies give us what we don't get on a normal by second basis, and that's meaning that by the time we have an animal with us, they give us such love that when we separate from our animals, it really makes a traumatic thing happen to us. I mean, just speaking myself personally, when I'm without my little 2-pound Chihuahua, I carry it in a bag everywhere and anywhere I can, and it gives me that. I don't know if it's that strength to be able to keep going. It also gives me a responsibility, which is really helpful in our unhoused populations, because knowing that they have a responsibility gives them the opportunity to continue to stay healthy and make wiser decisions. And so our fur babies are something that is a must. And so we've made sure that we accommodate them in every way we can. We have crates that were let us borrowed by the Sheriff's Department, the animal control. We are looking for crates. So if anybody has any crates, what we do is when we get one, we give one back. They supplied all of our foods when we originally started, our leashes, our bowls. We were set up and ready to go. And we would not have been able to do that without the animal shelter support either.
Thank you, Sarah, and your team. You're amazing.
Yes.
And let's talk about the folks that you're seeing, your clients.
And so far today, we've seen 104 unique individuals, and that means brand new people. In just this last week, we had an increase by 17 new people. That's huge for us when we're on an average of about 2 to 4 a week. And so for that much of an increase to occur, I did a little breakdown of it, and half of our population is over 55 years old, and that is a population that is already extremely vulnerable. And so in the last week, we've seen 6 that were 60 years old, 70 years old. They are gaining in age, and so we are trying to accommodate those needs inside the shelter by changing our bed system up, and then also being able to get them moved to different resources so that they can get all the medical needs that they need met, because we're noticing a big increase in seniors.
Why do you think that's the case?
Well, some of the folks that I've talked to, they've been in their homes for multiple years, and their landlords have increased the rent, and their Social Security has not been enough to also include the fair market rental rate, which is a standard that governments use for rental prices. We call it HUD. And so when HUD prices don't step up to the fair market rental rate, and then you have landlords that are able to rent because you have a list of waiting people, now we have a big decrease in profit for folks that are in the business for profit. And so our some of these folks that have been in their homes forever have had to leave their home, and so they haven't been able to catch up with the resources. There is some coming, which is wonderful, and that is why this shelter is so important, is because we are the intern until that happens.
I was going to say, I think a lot of times there's a big focus on families, which there should be, but a lot of times I think seniors tend to get forgotten in the mix. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And my whole career of over 20 years in government, we always think that there's somebody that will take care of them, or there's family, there's a kid, there's children.
A place to go.
They have a place to go. It's very difficult for someone that has mobility limitations to be couch surfing. It's very difficult to do that. So we can't forget about that. We focus on and I see, the children and families, but for seniors, the hardest part is to be able to focus on them. And that's why this program is so important, is because we're able to gather the data, we're able to get the numbers, we're able to get their information directly from them. They fill out the information, so staff doesn't have access to be able to make up the numbers. they fill up the card themselves. And so,
And tell us about that. So there's a registration process when folks come in, right?
correct. We didn't have a data system set up, but we realized that Lincoln County has a lack of data collecting, and there's been a lot of grants that Lincoln County has missed out on because there was no data to be collected and share with the state. And so we wanted to make sure we get that program up and running, and I have an appointment Friday to be able to set up a new system. But in the meantime, we have gathered the demographics for our folks when they come in by registering on a 5x7 card, and then just a registration form. And so we're still old school in the paperwork, but we are going to be moving to a more formal way for us to collect data that will be easier for Lincoln County to be able to apply for those grants. We don't keep information like Social Security numbers. We don't keep driver's license numbers. We don't keep anything that would be detrimental to someone in the event that someone was to get it. So that's very important for folks to know too, is that your identity is secure when you come into the shelter. It's not, you don't go on a list, you know, you're not shared with anybody. It is all within in this house here. So I know there's a lot of different ways that shelters have done things, but we do not work the same way. We're very cautious in how we protect our guests. And so even when you go into a data program, it's more just to collect the demographics.
And that's important because we saw those numbers weren't there when the governor said, okay, we're going to be providing some funding for areas, and a lot of local rural areas, including Lincoln County and many coastal areas, were not part of the original funding because they were like, well, you don't have any unhoused people there. They're all in the valley and in these big metro areas. And that's not the case. And that's where this information is really going to help let those folks know, hey, we need help here too, right?
Exactly. And the senior population shows the county, we need to get some more resources that are dedicated to the need. And without knowing the need, you can't bring the need. And so this is an opportunity to have the need addressed.
Now, is this something that working with the housing authority, and maybe this is a question, Karen, but not you.
I will see where the question is, and I might tap out.
there. But is that something that they might be looking into, is having some dedicated senior housing?
So I will definitely pass that to Karen because I stay in my wheelhouse, and I'll let Karen figure out because I'm not quite sure what her plans are or what their plans are. But I can tell you that the need is great, and this has really been helpful for them to see that as well.
Awesome. And you feed your clients as well, right?
Yes. So right now, when we started, we had partnered with the jail. Daniel, the cook, he has really made sure that our folks have gotten what they needed. At the beginning, it was fabulous because we'd have sandwiches and a side like a salad, a fruit, one of our amazing known muffins. And then after so many days of the same, 3 or 4 days, our folks were getting a little bit tired of it. So we tried to branch out and get a volunteer coordinator. So we finally have Heidi Rasmussen on board, who is in charge of now all the volunteers and helping fit the person with the spot that we need. And so hopefully we'll be able to drift away from Newport, not Lincoln City, but Newport, being able to have volunteers cook every single night for our guests.
I was going to say, in the past, I know that folks who wanted to help out would bring like crock pots of soup or spaghetti or things, a warm meal in a portable manner. Are you able to accept stuff like that?
So there's a couple, things that does change when you go from a nonprofit to a county-run program. County-run programs are a lot more stricter. They have the guidelines and the rules are a lot higher that we have to meet in regards to make sure that there's certain things, boxes checked. And so for each volunteer, they actually have to go through a food safety course. I train them on de-escalation, Narcan, and bloodborne pathogen. And then they go through a small county 30-minute orientation just to express that, as a volunteer, you're also representing the county. And so it's important for all of us to remember the county is still running the program, but there is a lengthier process, and it is a time-consuming, especially at the beginning of trying to figure out how we were going to check all those boxes off and who was going to do what. But we finally have gotten it speeded up since Heidi's been able to be on board and take that pressure off of me as well. I was trying to fit people in, and the great thing is the first 3 months, we used the community college nurses. And we used them all up until their time was up, and then we were like, wait, you're going to come back, right? And they'd say, well, yeah, next semester. And I'll be like, but no, we need you to stay. And so they're coming back. Actually, the sign-ups are coming back. I've already gotten a couple of emails that I've forwarded on. And so exciting news that our nurses that are studying in the community college are coming back. And they really bring a lot of that tender touch to our our guests that you're not going to really get from the staff that is running around making sure X, Y, and Z is met. And so they're able to just kind of be brief and be calm and talk to them. And so we really appreciate them being here, as well as our volunteers that cook in the kitchen. We can't cook here. And so one of the limitations is that we have to have a commercial kitchen. So we can't, per se, just take food from just anybody. We just got a huge donation from Depot Bay Donuts. And so he's been bringing us donuts, and we'll be going back and forth twice a week to pick those up. Wonderful treat for our guests. The first time that we brought him in, it was just, that's exactly what I did too. It was like, I just realized I touched that. I was like,
I did the same.
And it was just such a nice, warm, fuzzy sight because, that donuts are not cheap and they taste really good. And not being from here, I didn't realize how good, what donut is donut. No, Depot Bay Donut's pretty good. And so we greatly appreciate that new donation. And so we're getting more donations as we go. Like I said, the animal crates to help our different sized animals. And that kind of stuff, and I'll wait till you get to that part.
Now, what about donations of socks and blankets and warm coats and things along those lines?
Yes, and so we got our first donation and the second donation from News Times. They're doing a blanket drive, and so we were so thankful that they thought of us. And in fact, what they brought in, we've already used. So. We got a really big shipment of sheets for our twin-size beds from our Marine Science folks out there in the Bay, and I'm talking a half of a pallet. And that is, it was almost like somebody literally heard my prayers because I said, we just went through a whole 28 sets of sheets, and I need to get new sheets for these beds, and I got a phone call. And I just couldn't have felt blessed even more than I already am. So that was a great donation as well. And we've received a lot more other donations from people, our commissioners cooking dinners, to our folks in the community that would love to be able to just come. But because of the volunteer process, it does make it a little lengthier. So hang in there. We want you to be here, and we'll get to be able to share this environment with everybody soon.
All right, and you're going to be expanding soon.
Yes, we are. So we are hopefully we're working on opening up Lincoln City. The shelter is going to be kind of like a partner with Helping Hands, and so because Helping Hands doesn't do right off the street sheltering, we will be able to do that. Helping Hands has amazingly rotated some of our folks through our shelter into their program, and that is the key. That's the goal, is to go from one shelter to the transitional to rapid rehousing and then into permanent housing. Permanent housing is exactly where we want to be, but it's very difficult to go from the streets to rapid rehousing, and I have experience in seeing how that doesn't work. And so without programs to be able to give them the bridge to cross, they learn more tools for their toolbox. And without this step that allows folks to come in right off the street, is what Lincoln County doesn't have to worry about no more.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
You know, I did want to share a little bit about the reason why I'm in this is because as a kid I was in the system. I was a foster kid, and I grew up pretty much surviving. And I also was homeless as well. I lived on a bank in a river, and you know, I fully grasp what it means to be cold, hungry, and sad and lonely. And I've got, you know, been in mental health for so many years. I've learned, you know, our true triggers. And so when we are compassionate, but with the criminal justice and legal background, it's helped me be a middleman. Instead of this place is not run like a prison, it's run a tight ship, but it literally has got compassion. Because
but people have to follow.
Yes, so we have basic rules. Our rules are, you know, we ask that you, when you come in, we do ask that you put all your stuff in a blue bag that is locked and secured into your own cupboard. And then in the next morning, you get that back. It's just, you know, you take in what you need for the night. So your iPad, so you can still, you know, watch your movies or listen to your phone. And then we give that back to you. Common rules: no weapons, no knives, no, you know, foul treatment, no language, no discrimination. You know, we are absolutely a safe, affirming space for all, and that means every in particular person is welcome here. And but we do have to follow the rules and respect one another. And when you're not, you know, we got to do what we have to do to make sure that everybody else is safe.
Absolutely, that is so important. Thank you, Chantelle, so much for being here, being a kind, compassionate, and welcoming place for your clients to be able to come to, and helping to solve the problems that we're facing. So
that's the goal. We're going to get there. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm Kiera Morgan. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera, sponsored again by the Human Being in Newport at 6th Street and Highway 101 in Lincoln City at the north end of the highway on the east side next to Kiera. If you've liked what you've seen today, be sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. And we're happy to keep you informed of when we have another episode coming up.
Hello everyone, I'm Angel. I'm shift lead tonight. I got hired on to help open Lincoln City shelter, and I really wanted to be a part of helping the community, so that's why I chose this job.
My name's Emmy, and I also got hired on for the Lincoln City location, and I applied for this job because I feel like it has a great purpose in our community, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
And I'm Chantelle Estess, and that just made me cry because, you know, being part of the community and helping this population is extremely important. And so to have staff that love that desire is wonderful. So again, I'm Chantelle.
I'm Brittany. I just started, today's my 3rd day, but I love being able to help the community and give back to those that need it the most. It's very rewarding.
I'm Diane. I'm a volunteer. This is my 3rd night, and I volunteered because I think this is a wonderful resource that's been really needed in our community, and I'm glad to help, and the crew is great.
Andrea, I'm staff. We're here in Newport, and I wanted to work here to help with other people and those in need, and just feels really, really good.
I'm Wendy, and I'm also staff. It's my 2nd day, and I couldn't feel better about helping our community and being involved.